What's going on? So, a little bit of a glare here. I'm going to step out just for a second so you can see what I see. Got this beautiful view. Not as cool as I thought it would be, but I had a couple of minutes and I really wanted to just make a video really quick about something that I've been meditating on. Now, I've intended to record some videos to make a short or make maybe even a couple of shorts about this, and I just think that this is a little bit of a better way for me to get all these thoughts out and do it concisely, right? So what am I talking about? Well, I'm here today to talk about Isaiah chapter 43 verses 18 and 19. And I'll just read it first and then we can go through it. So it says, "Do not remember the former things or ponder the things of the past. Listen carefully. I'm about to do a new thing. Now it will spring forth. Will you be aware of it? I will put a road in the wilderness, rivers in the desert." So the reason that I wanted to talk about this tonight was because I feel like in my life, the Lord has really been directing me to this verse a lot. And so there's a lot of elements in this verse, and I'm going to break them down for you in a second here. But the keys are, when you're on the cusp of a new season, or when you're coming out of an old season, something like in Genesis chapter 8, verse 22, it says, "As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, these things will not cease," right? And I'm paraphrasing because I missed a portion of it there. But you get the idea that the seasons are always coming and going. There's always going to be seasons in life. And if you're going through a hard time right now, it's only temporary. It's not always going to be that way. Now, you might be going through a hard time and it might be transitioning into an even harder time. So I don't want to give you encouragement when I need to give you awareness, but who I am as a person, I'm an encouraging person. I'm an encouraging guy, and I want to encourage you. And so I led with the negative. Like, you could be in a bad season, it could be going to an even worse season, but you could be in a bad season and it's coming into a good season, and you could be in a good season going to a great season. But I want you to be aware of this, and that's exactly what this verse says. It says, "Listen carefully. I'm about to do a new thing. Will you be aware of it?" And we need to be aware of the new seasons that are coming. We need to be aware of exactly where we are in the season that we're currently in. And we need to be aware of the new season before the new season comes. When the new season comes, it tells us that we need to forget the former things. Don't think about the past. Don't be pondering the things of the past. God wants to take us to a new level. And when he does that, we can't be held back by the things that have always held us back. I made this analogy the other day in our men's group, that in order for us to take what God has for us, we have to let go of something, right? If we have our hands full of the old things, we don't have any hands free to grab the new things with. And in order for us to grab the new thing, we have to let go of one of the old things. And if not just one, both of the old things, or as many of the old things as level, there's new things that we have to let go of. We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be at a place where we don't need to be renewed, where we don't need to let something go. It's hard to let things go. Habits and relationships and, the stuff that we've always done, that we've become comfortable with. is going to prevent us from being able to go to the next level. So spent a little longer on that than I wanted to, but I wanted to break this verse down into a couple of pieces, and I'm kind of working backwards here, but we have to be aware of the new season. We have to be aware of the season that we're in, and we have to be aware of the season that we're going into, right? And we cannot be pondering the things of the past. Reminiscing on our old ways of doing things is bad. We have to get amnesia about our old life and just forget those things that we used to do, those places we used to go, those people we used to surround ourselves with. Forget about it. And don't, tell stories glorifying the things that you used to do with the people that you used to do those things with. That's a trap. And we need to become renewed. We need to forget about those old habits. We need to focus on the new habits and the new God has. So in order for God to take us to a new place, then he needs to renew us past those old behaviors, past those old relationships. The new welcome, submitting to God, submitting to his plan, submitting to his purpose and the vision that he has for our lives. And this is so real to me right now because last week I turned 30, and that's the closing of a chapter. It's the closing of my 20s. That's the closing of an entire decade of my life, which is a third of my life at this point. There's a lot of things that I did when I was in my 20s that I wish that I hadn't done. And there was a lot of habits, a lot of relationships, a lot of places that I used to go and things that I used to do that I'm not going to be doing anymore. And that's just the truth of it. And as I'm going into this new season, not only am I being aware that I'm walking into a new season and that God has new things for me, but I'm understanding that the old things that I had, that I don't need those things anymore. And I don't have to be attached to those things anymore. And for me to be able to go further and to be able to walk in the fullness of what God has for me, I have to lay those things aside. And it's a challenge. It's hard. And I've really been challenging myself to figure out what are those things that I need to leave behind? What are those things that I need to avoid? What are those things that I need to let go of in order to be able to reach the new heights that God had intended for me to reach? And I don't have it here, unfortunately, and I wish that I did, but there's another verse in Isaiah that talks about, renewing our strength like the eagles, right? And when the eagles, they'll have their feathers and they'll need to, at various stages in their life, they'll pluck out their feathers, the old feathers, so that they can grow new feathers, so that they can go higher than they did before, right? And that's how we need to be. It's hard. You think it hurts that eagle to be able to pull its own feathers out? Like, I would imagine it's excruciating. It's probably very painful. And it's going to be hard for us to let go of those old things. And there's something inside of us that's going to keep bringing us back to those old habits, to those old behaviors, and those old responses that we had to situations and circumstances. And I'll close up with this here because I really don't want to go long. I got stuff to do, and I wanted to get this out. But in Colossians 3:10, it says, "Put on the new man, which is renewed in the knowledge and the image of him who created him." God is renewing you. God is renewing your friends, your business, your marriage, your body, your mind. And those old things are just not going to help you get there. They're not going to serve you anymore. And we have to let those things go in order to walk in the fullness of what God has for us. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that this has been an encouragement. Think about what season are you in. Has things been difficult for you lately? Understand that might not be going away. We're always going to have challenges. We're always going to have adversities, but those are the times that we get to develop ourselves. We get to be developed. God uses those challenges and those adversities to be able to sharpen our skills, to be able to teach us things. God uses adversity and challenges for us to be able to be developed. If you prayed for courage, he's not going to just give you courage. He's going to give you opportunities to be courageous. If you are believing for prosperity, he's not going to just give you money. He's going to give you opportunities to be better with your money and to make your money go further and to be able to make good financial decisions. So everything that you're believing for is going to come down to habits and the way that you respond to circumstances and situations. Now, we need to make sure that we're operating in the spirit and not the natural. And, I could go another 10 minutes if we start talking about the weapons of our warfare and the battlefield being in the mind and not being in the natural, right? Because the devil comes at us with fear. He comes at us with those old habits and those old ways of doing things. But all that stuff is just in our mind, in our brains. We've been doing the same things for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So of course we're going to gravitate to doing those things because we've programmed ourselves to behave that way. We've programmed ourselves to be explosive and to respond in anger in certain situations. We've programmed ourselves to use drugs and alcohol as an escape from our problems and to celebrate our victories and stuff. So we've used these habits and these ways of doing things for so long that we don't even realize that we're doing it. And it's in our minds. We programmed ourselves this way. So in order for us to begin to move forward, we need to reprogram our minds. That's what the renewing of the mind is. It's washing over and starting over, and then we can learn how to respond more maturely, so we can learn to respond the way that God would have us to respond. And the devil on the battlefield of the mind. So we fight him with our mind. So when fear starts coming after you, understand that fear does not come from God. God has given us a sound mind. And once we start entering into fear and worry and anxiety, we need to resist that and understand that's not coming from God. God's given us a spirit of faith and of power and of love and a sound mind of courage and strength. And so we don't need to accept those things. We need to respond with courage. We need to respond with faith. We need to not look at the way that things appear. And we need to be trying to look with our eyes of the spirit and understand, okay, if I'm in a difficult season right now, what can I do spiritually in order to change that? And just be aware of the season that you're in. Be aware of the season that you're going into. And it will spring forth. But once it does, don't go back to the former things. Don't go back to those old ways of doing things, because you can really get yourself into some trouble. We talk about the new wine being poured into the old wineskins. It's going to ruin the wine and it's going to ruin the wineskin. So don't be like that. Hope that this has been an encouragement, guys. I really do want to hang out and just keep talking about these things, but I'm going to cut it short here tonight because I want to leave something. I want to leave something on the table. I want you to have something to come back for. And I apologize that I've been gone the last week or two. It's been hard. It's been rough. I've been traveling a lot, and God has been good, but work's been crazy. And I love you guys. I speak a blessing over you, and God's got his eye on you. His eyes on the sparrow. He's watching everything that we do, and he will supply all of our needs according to his riches and glory. If we seek him first, then everything else is going to be added. We have to seek him and his righteousness. So just walk in righteousness, and God be with you. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Thanks for letting me speak with you this evening.